What is happening, Magnusites? So, the saga continues, and the gunman has been identified, and we're going to get some details. Are you ready? Check this out. There's all some wild stuff. Those headlines, too. Oh, Trump fell at rally. It was an assassination attempt. Did you see those headlines? Headlines were ridiculous, acting like nothing happened.
And we are now also getting some new details about the gunman and his background. We're learning more about him, and our Danny Freeman has been doing so much of that reporting. So, Danny, what have you learned about the gunman here in these past moments?
Well, Aaron, I'll start with the newest information that we just received from a briefing that the FBI conducted in the past hour or so. We're talking about Thomas Matthew Crooks. This is the 20-year-old suspect who is accused of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. According to the FBI, we now know that they believe that he acted alone, and the FBI also believes that there's no
A lone wolf.
indication of mental health issues with Mr. Crooks. We also have learned in the past hour that part of this investigation is the FBI...
Looks like a child. You see that? It looks like a child. It doesn't even look 20. Wait, what?
Mr. Crooks. We also have learned in the past hour that part of this investigation is the FBI has actually gotten...
By the way, someone sent me something last night that was saying, and it's just rumor, but people were saying that because Trump doesn't acknowledge the whole Project 2025, he's got his own thing with, what is it, Project 47 or something, that's why he tried to take him out, because he didn't like that Trump wasn't going with Project 2025. That's just one thing that I heard. Don't know if it's true or not.
Access to Thomas Crooks's phone, but at this point they don't have access to the information inside the phone. They have shipped it to Quantico, according to the FBI headquarters, to try and figure out how to get inside. And the other thing, Aaron, that perhaps is surprising, but the FBI said it on this briefing, is that they have not at this point identified any sort of ideology that would give clues to, again, the big question that everyone has: what caused this man to go to this...
Oh, he's patriotic. You see the shirt he's wearing.
Trump event and open fire at the former president, ultimately injuring him, killing one, and injuring two other rallygoers in the crowd. Now, I do...
By the way, thank you to all of you that subscribed when I gave my quick rant yesterday about people threatening to unsubscribe just because I'm talking about politics. I've always talked about politics for the most part once in a while, when people ask. Okay, so I talk about anything I want on here. It's my channel. You know what I mean? There's a lot of channels out there, right? Like USA, Showtime, TBS, ABC, NBC. Tennis might be on, right? And if you don't like tennis, you're not going to watch it, correct? All right, then. So don't threaten to leave and threaten to unsubscribe. That doesn't matter to me, because someone else will subscribe in your place when you leave. You just don't have to watch my political videos. That's it. And then when a Try Not to Laugh pops up, or a reaction pops up, or an unboxing pops up, whatever it is you like, then you watch that video. That's how it goes. You cannot control what videos that I do like that. Understood? Somebody said, this channel is not like the airport. You do not have to announce when you're leaving. That's right. Just go.
I do want to just go over some of the things that we do know in addition to some of this information, Aaron. We also learned in the past hour or so that Mr. Crooks was a dietary aide at the Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. It's like a nursing home that's very close to where we are, not too far from his home, about 5 minutes away here in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. That organization confirmed that he was an employee, confirmed that he was a dietary aide, said that they were shocked and saddened by this news of the shooting overnight, but also noted that Crooks performed his job without concern and did pass background checks prior to getting this particular job. Now, the last thing, Aaron, that I'll mention is just a few of the things that we have been...
A lot of people can pass background checks. By the way, too, people were also saying that, something's fishy, something's dirty. that people knew. And, isn't it crazy how there's been several things that have happened in history where you'll find out once certain documents are released that this person knew this, or this person was told about that, or this whole organization was contacted and knew about a situation and still let it happen. I hope all that's not true, because if it is,
been reporting, as you said, all throughout the day. We know that Mr. Crooks was a registered Republican. We also know that he donated a small amount of money to a Democratic-aligned group back in 2021. And we also know that he was in possession of an AR-style rifle, which law enforcement sources tell us was actually not just obtained legally, but also traced back to Mr. Crooks's father. And that's actually how law enforcement was able to identify their suspect in the first place, because Thomas Crooks was not found with any ID after the U.S. Secret Service agents neutralized him yesterday. But again, Aaron, the big question...
That's funny when they use those technical terms like that, neutralized. You mean shot him back?
that we still do not have an answer to, what led him to go to that Trump campaign event and open fire.
And of course, everyone is just desperate for answers here on that. You've got to think back to the Las Vegas situation, of course, where we never got those answers. And so much could be resting on.
She got a cartoon hairstyle, don't she? You see that on cartoons. It's probably like it's easy to draw. You know what I mean? Like that and like this. Not that it's bad. It looks good on her, but,
On that phone, as you say, right now at Quantico, Virginia. So, Danny, when he shot to kill the former president. He did kill somebody.
Right.
There were two others critically injured. What more have you learned about them?
So, Aaron, we actually just got new information from Pennsylvania State Police, and I should say it is actually good information. We now know the identities of the two other men who last night were determined to be critically injured. Now we know that these men are both stable. That's 57-year-old David Dutch from New Kensington, Pennsylvania. That's also in this larger Pittsburgh area. And then 74-year-old James Copenhaver from Moon Township, Pennsylvania. And I should say that David Dutch was a service member as well. Part of the Marine organization here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, said that he had to have 2 surgeries for gunshots in both his liver and his chest. So just a miracle that these two men are in stable condition after getting shot yesterday at that event. But Aaron, I do want to mention that there is the third victim. That was a rally goer, Mr. Corey Comparator. He is a husband, a father of 2. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro described him as a girl dad, a loving family man. And Governor Josh Shapiro said that he spoke with the wife of Corey earlier today, who told him that Corey's a hero. Not only was he a firefighter, but also when those shots rang out.
I know who makes those shirts. I have a couple of them. I like those shirts. That's sad, man. That's sad.
Mr. Comparator dove on top of his family members who were also at that rally, protecting them from oncoming gunfire. The last thing I'll note on that, Aaron, is that U.S. flags and Commonwealth flags here in Pennsylvania have been lowered to half-staff in honor of Mr. Comparator today. Aaron?
All right, Danny, thank you very much.
We're also learning more about how what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania is impacting what's happening here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A source familiar with the discussions that are underway says that there are conversations happening about adding more federal law enforcement agents here at the Republican convention, where Donald Trump is expected to arrive in just a few hours from now. CNN senior crime and justice reporter Shimon Prokupez is outside the perimeter tracking all of this. And Shimon, our understanding is that these new agents would potentially be added to some positions in the perimeter, but can you just walk us through where they would go and kind of what the calculus is for making...
You dress like an upscale waiter or hostess. Host. You ever been to a restaurant? You guys don't know what I'm talking about. You go to those upper echelon restaurants, a lot of times they're dressed just like that. It's my first time seeing someone for the news dressed like that.
Making this decision ultimately.
Right, and that's where we are. We are on the perimeter, the outer perimeter here in Milwaukee. I want to show you, Caitlin, how this is going to work here. These are all of the metal barriers right now that are in place. They've been in place for several days. Once the freeze goes in, the gates will start to close. Cars will not allow to proceed this way. They have barriers here. We are already seeing a massive police presence here that has increased here in the last 24 hours. You could see officers here. They're from Michigan. You have officers over this way that are from New Jersey, State Police from New Jersey. And all along here, there are metal barriers that are leading into the area of where the convention is going to take place. So this entire area at this point is going to be shut down once the Secret Service. Now, the Secret Service is running the security here, and once the Secret Service decides to put the freeze in, that's when everything here changes. I've been talking to some of the law enforcement officers here from New Jersey, from Michigan, and they all say they are waiting for the Secret Service to decide here on what the next steps are. There's a plan in place, but they're waiting to see if anything is going to be enhanced. Now, the new reporting that we're getting from our Whitney Wild is that there is a chance that federal officials will bring in more resources here, more federal law enforcement officials, because of what in part happened yesterday. The other thing, the FBI just did.
What other reason would they be bringing more in?
A conference call with reporters. And one of the things the assistant director said was that the rhetoric is up. Stuff that's going on in the online world is certainly concerning for them. The rhetoric was already up. But since yesterday, they are seeing even a further increase. And that is certainly going to concern law enforcement officials. And that is perhaps why, as you look here, there's continuing to be activity, why there is this opportunity here now, this discussion to increase law enforcement presence.
Wait a minute, what was that?
Increase law enforcement presence.
About the Secret Service there.
Why?
CNN's Whitney Wild has been following the FBI investigation into the shooting. Whitney, this is being called a security failure at the highest level. So tell our viewers how this happened.
Well, Wolf, that is the biggest question here. And I can tell you, I've spoken with multiple members of law enforcement who look at the proximity of that building to the former president and are absolutely astounded, shocked. I mean, the list of adjectives goes on and on, that something like this could happen. What we know, Wolf, is that according to the Secret Service, that building was outside of the perimeter. But the question is, what was supposed to happen at the building? Was someone supposed to be posted there? Was there a sweep? When did the sweep happen? Ultimately, how did this shooter get up onto the roof? And the other major question here, Wolf, is that in the planning, how did the Secret Service determine the relevance of that building in this larger operational plan? Did they look at that building as a vulnerability? Did they just simply say it's outside the perimeter? This perimeter is wide enough and move on? Yeah,
because you saw the videos. You know, the people that saw it was like, yo, like we're seeing him climb up there, like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, what's...
These are the questions that need to be answered by the Secret Service, and certainly the questions that the Secret Service is asking themselves at this very moment. What we know, Wolf, is that what the Secret Service does at events like this, and certainly this happened at the rally, is that they rely on local law enforcement to fill in gaps. That happens all the time. It is extremely routine for the Secret Service. And in this case, for example, they had 2 Secret Service counter sniper teams available on the ground with the former president, as well as 2 local counter sniper.
Oh, and that's another thing. So, I didn't know that any women were in the Secret Service. All I had ever seen, I never looked it up. So I'd only ever seen men as Secret Service. People are making fun of the women. On there, the one where it shows like footage of her like trying to like holster her gun or something. She can't. So they like, that's going to open up a whole can of worms of whether women should be in the Secret Service now. People arguing over that. I mean, you are protecting the president. To tell you the truth, if you're protecting the president, no matter what, you need to be the best of the best. And I mean, there is no hiring of none of that stuff. You just need the best. Okay. So if those women right there are better than all the men that ever applied for it, fine. But if they're not, look, don't just hire different genders just to check a box. I mean, it is the president you're talking about, or a former president that you're talking about. You got what I'm saying? Like, men we're bigger, we're stronger, we're faster. We have faster reflexes. Okay? I mean, we are built as protectors and hunters. You got what I'm saying? Of our tribes, of our families. We are built that way. You got what I'm saying? So it's like, all right now, like, really? Like, it got all the way up to the top to where you're possibly doing DEI type of stuff? Like, come on. Really? Like, the president's life is at stake. Okay? I would have nothing but the biggest, strongest, fastest, toughest, sharpest dudes on the planet protecting the president. So something's going on with that too. Someone showed me some footage where someone, like, I think they were trying to show me and say that an agent kind of ducked before the shots or something. So I'm just waiting for more and more info to come out.
Teams. But again, there are so many questions, Wolf, about was somebody supposed to be posted there and why wasn't a member of law enforcement posted on the roof?
And Whitney, we now know it wasn't just local law enforcement that spotted the shooter beforehand. Some witnesses say they actually saw a man carrying a rifle outside that security perimeter just ahead of the rally. Another told our affiliate KDKA he saw a guy moving from roof to roof. Why didn't anyone react before he started shooting?
Yeah.
That is another major question here, Wolf. And what we understand, again, is that law enforcement spotted this person and they were at least having some discussions over the radio about suspicious activity. But the question is, when was this person spotted with a firearm and what did local law enforcement do about it? What did the Secret Service do about it? According to the Washington Post, what we know is that a law enforcement officer was able to determine that the sniper was up on the roof and actually pulled himself up onto the roof. And in a moment, very briefly, it's unclear if they exchanged any words, but at least they saw one another. And the shooter on top of that roof saw this local law enforcement officer, turned his rifle, again, this is according to the Washington Post, and in that moment, the officer dropped from the roof to try to take cover to save his own life. So many more questions, Wolf, about why, if this person was acting suspiciously, if he was spotted with a firearm, why there weren't counterintelligence officials watching him. I was speaking with a source earlier today who said normally what should happen in a case like this is the second you see somebody acting suspiciously, especially if they are later seen with a firearm, is you have someone from law enforcement watching them right away, and ideally you'd even have someone from law enforcement contact that person. Many more questions to answer here, Wolf, but certainly how local law enforcement, how the Secret Service reacted to that information is going to be crucial to this investigation.
Yeah, and we'll be hearing from Secret Service agents.
Yeah, it takes time for someone to climb up and get all set up with their rifles. Like, I figure they'd be scanning the area. And, just like all type of security, they probably get lackadaisical because most of the time nothing happens. You know what I mean? So
during the course of this hour, we expect them to start answering some of these very, very serious questions. Whitney Wild reporting for us. Whitney, thanks very much. And joining us now, CNN Senior National Security Analyst, the former Assistant Homeland Security Secretary, Juliet Kayyem, and CNN Senior Law Enforcement Analyst, the former Philadelphia Police Commissioner, also the former D.C. Police Chief, Charles Ramsey. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Chief Ramsey, do you consider this a security failure?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, listen, that's this sort of thing is not supposed to happen.
No.
The president's absolutely right by calling for an independent investigation. That, in my mind, means it should not be an internal investigation by the Secret Service. Someone else should take over the investigation. But they have to find out what took place so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, a gunman, to be able to get that close to a protectee, actually wound that individual, there's just no excuse for it. Something broke down. And the more we find out about things like...
or something's fishy, or something's going on, a lot of people are saying it's a setup. Now, I notice a lot of people are saying that it's fake. A fake setup. I don't know. I mean, that is a perfect shot of him raising his fist with the flag in the background. But other than that, something don't seem right.
Seeing a suspicious person, I mean, did anybody make physical contact with this individual? How did he get on the roof? And then there's one report that there was a cop up there who left after he saw the individual. How true that is, I don't know. But the bottom line is something broke down.
He left after he saw.
Find out quickly. Tomorrow starts the RNC. A month later, you got the DNC. And in between, you're going to have a former president, current president, and both their vice presidents out actively campaigning. And so we have to fix this problem.
You are absolutely right. Juliet, in your latest article in The Atlantic, you say, and I'm quoting you now, political violence reveals deep cultural dysfunction, and that dysfunction is what our leaders must address. No security perimeter can shield our fractured democracy. So what do our political leaders, Juliet, need to do now in order to address this current political climate?
I'm going to leave it right there. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all thought. If you enjoyed my thoughts and comments and all that stuff, my reaction, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Man, woo.